Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us and creating your own Cruise Crop Passport. We're going to first show you how to create your album. Pick out your favorite pieces for your front and your back cover, and the outside cover will be the larger of the two pieces. It's simply 12 by 6. And we have pre-cut your chipboard pieces to fit in your album, and make sure they go in this order with the 1 inch all the way on the right. And our first step would be to glue these down. Now I used some 1/4 inch score tape to help me place these on my sheet. It's not totally necessary, but it was very helpful. It's also helpful to have straight edges. See, I just used a piece of the paper as a straight edge to line up the bottoms of the cardstocks. But you're basically going to want them a 1/2 inch in from each side, and then a 1/4 inch in between each piece of chipboard. I like to use a wet glue for this. It allows you to wiggle it around a little bit until you get the perfect placement. And I feel like it's super strong in the long run. Again, it is very important that they all line up nicely at the bottom. So if you can use a long ruler or even just the extra sheet of paper you have lying around. But the 1/4 inch score tape in between helps with placement a lot. So you start with the larger 3 3/4 piece, and then your 3/4 inch strip, and then your another large piece, another 3/4 inch, and then your 1 inch is at the very last end. So while you're gluing these down, you want to make sure that you have your back side of your paper in the right direction. For this design, the blue stripe was the same going both ways. But if you are making with a different paper pattern, such as our minty paper paradise, then it does fade. The chevron does fade from light to dark, so you want to make sure you're positioning it the way you think it looks best. You have lots of options as far as paper choices. You don't have to do the same ones that we did, but they're certainly there as a suggestion. And if you like something better, feel free to switch it up. And we'd love to see the changes that you make and see your finished product when you're done. So that's our last piece. Just want to line it up really good. So here I put some more score tape on the edge so that when I fold it over, it sticks really well. I went back and put it on the very edge of the left side. I did realize before I take these off, I want to kind of bend it up and miter my corners. If you have a mitering tool, that makes it even simpler, but you don't want to cut right directly at the corner of the chipboard. You need a little spacing so that when it folds over and wraps around the chipboard, that it doesn't have a gap. So I noticed as I was doing this that it didn't line up. It must have slipped, the glue, and I wanted to fix that. So thankfully, I was able to get that off without ripping my paper and could line it up properly. So it helps to start your folds. And by having them pre-folded, it'll make it easier to cut your corners off. So it's better to cut a little at a time until you see that it folds nicely, because otherwise if you cut too much, there will be a gap there in between your top and your side piece of paper. So now I will just take off the back of that score tape, add some new score tape to the top and the bottom, and that'll finish our front cover. So the final step is to press down the top and the bottom. And as you can see, I had added some more score tape to the top and the bottom so that folds over nicely, gives it a good secure glue. And our next step will be inserting our handle. So before we glue down our inside cover, we're going to be putting our handle on the very top of our suitcase. So you can kind of work your book a little bit, get your folds in place, and then pull out your leather strips. Now these could look a little different depending on which kit you purchased, but look for the short piece. And you may need to trim this up a little bit. You want it about 3 inches, possibly a little smaller. You have 2 brads in your kit as well. You'll need some kind of poking tool. And we are poking these in, I think it was about 1.5 inches from the side, from each side, and just in the middle of the 1 inch the 3/4 inch section of the top of your suitcase. So again, pay particular attention to which section you're poking holes through. So just however far in you think looks good. That might be about a 1 3/4 inch from each side, just depending on how high you want your handle to stick up. And then go ahead and poke through the chipboard. And then before I attached this, I did round the corners of the leather. So that's up to you. Again, it's personal preference, but I thought that looked really nice to have them rounded, and you're able to make them look a little bit more cohesive. Definitely trim up based on our cuts. We didn't trim them perfectly, so you want to make sure your lines are straight on each edge of your leather strip. So then it's helpful to poke through your strip with your piercing tool. And there, here I inserted the brad first and then poked it through the top of my suitcase. And just press that nice and flat. You'll never even know it's there. They're so thin. So do the same thing to the other side of your leather handle. And when it comes time to attach the leather strips to the suitcase around the back and over the top, we did the same thing where we rounded the corners of the edges that hung off the front part, the front flap. So here's our Paradise passport, just to show you what that looked like. And so now you can glue down the inside of your cover once you have your front handle on. Pay particular attention to the direction of your paper before you glue this down. And if you are so inclined, you can start inking different pieces that go on the inside. I decided to ink this one in a brown. Our Paradise line, I use some teal, some yellow, some orange. I think I use some pink, so just whatever you decide looks good, whatever you have on hand. So I had originally glued this down without paying attention to the direction of the words. And so here I was able to fix it, thankfully. We have to learn from our mistakes. Do as I say, not as I do. So again, if you have time to let that really dry, you might be better off. I played with it a long time to get it pressed down and formed the way I wanted to, but if you're able to walk away for a minute or so, that's even better. Here on the Paradise line, that one didn't really have a direction, but you could choose between which side you liked better for your inside cover. Both of these lines are so beautiful. We just loved them both. We couldn't decide, and so we wanted to offer you both choices. Be sure to post your passport on Instagram and hashtag Cruise and Crop Passport, and you'll be entered into our end of the year drawing for a prize. Anybody who makes one of our passports. So we want to see your finished project and see if you made any changes, how you incorporated the paper, and if you have sailed with us long ago and need your passport stickers, Then there is a short form on our website that you can easily request those, and we'll mail them out. If you have a future cruise planned, we give those to your cruise host, and they should be passing them out on board. So please don't request passport stickers for cruises you're booked on in the future, but anything you've gone on in the past and don't have your sticker for, we're more than happy to send that to you. Okay, so our next step is to add these little suitcase feet. And just as the reinforcement on the corners, really more for looks than anything. I used a brown to distress them a little bit. It would also look really good if you had a shiny gold to put on there. That makes it look really pretty. I start off by folding them in half both ways. That way I can see my corner, and that helps with placement. You don't have to press those seams real hard, but just nice and loose so you see that corner, the very middle point. And these are going to go on the front and bottom of your suitcase and wrap around to the inside. I used a wet glue when I put these on, and I put too much glue in there and then it kind of meshed out a little bit. So make sure if you're using a wet glue that it's nice and thin and doesn't bleed onto your paper. So just work that around that bottom corner. And it is important to get these on at this stage before you glue on your inside pages, because they will overlap a little bit. So we just thought those little feet looked cute on there. Again, I think a dry glue would have worked better for this. If you have a Xyron machine or something you can run it through, that would be great too. My hands are still so sticky. So there you go. You have your basic suitcase created now. And so now we're going to insert our pages. You received 2 pieces of paper, and you're going to cut out 4 different pages out of these. 3 of them are 7.5 inches long, and 1 of them is 8.5. So don't cut them all down to 7.5 before you get that 8.5 inch piece cut first. So our first page I'm showing here is our pocket page. So score each of the pages and cut each of the pages as shown in your instructions. And then the larger page is for our pocket. And so we fold that over. We're going to glue down the bottom and the side only. You can glue under that flap as well. So go ahead and kind of glue down that flap underneath the flap and the bottom portion to make your pocket. Press that down, set it aside. And the pages are going to fold out differently in different areas. So you can always start them out here, get the folds going, and always reverse that little flap we're going to glue down as needed. Once we get all our pages folded, then it's a good idea to start inking them before gluing them in your book. So I started it out with a page that opens that way, then I have my pocket, and then my last two pages kind of open up towards each other. And of course you can put these down however you'd like, but this is how our example is. So go ahead and ink all of those edges before gluing them in our binding. And I just went direct stamp pad to paper. Just to do the very edge. Of course, you could use a blending brush if you want it to be faded in a little bit more. Don't we all wish we could ink this fast? The beauty of speeding up videos. I did use a wet glue for this because I like the ability to position it slightly once I put it down. So you're going to start with their corner where your little feet are. Hold up the front of your suitcase and press it right in there in the corner with the flap facing towards the handle side, towards the right. And then I do the very last page next. So we're doing first page, then last page, and then we'll work out the middle. So same thing, hold up the edge, push it right in the corner, press it down. And then I do the pocket, and that folds backwards towards the handle side. Press that down. This next one's going to fill in that hole, and if it overlaps a little bit, that's okay. If there's a little gap, that's okay, because you can always put a little strip of paper in to cover any of these white areas if you'd like, especially where this one is fatter. Here in between the third and fourth page, I do put a strip of paper down there right where my finger is at to cover up that seam. Or a piece of washi is nice because it's just about the right size. So here's our book and how it flips. Flips out to the right. And there we go. You've made the basic book here. Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back. Looks beautiful. So now just notice that for your passport inserts, we do have one special page that is meant to put your photo on. And then we have our little logo that can go in the front cover. And then there's 3 different colors of inserts for 10 different cruises. So we can't wait for you guys to fill up this passport after you've been on 10 Cruise and Crop cruises. Possibly some of our virtuals. And don't forget to ink these before you glue them down. But we did do quite a bit to decorate each of the pages. So I wouldn't glue those down just yet. Kind of think about how you want to decorate your book. So here's a flip through of our book. We added in a little pocket. Put some paper at the bottom of our page. I didn't glue down that chair so that I could stick something behind it. Here's a strip of pocket page cards I can add photos to later. Did some of our cutouts. You definitely add in some flip outs. That gives you space for not only your passport sticker, but photos of your trip. Some pictures of your scrappy friends that went with you. So here I added a little bit of washi tape I had that matched. And certainly we all have plenty of washi tape. I'm sure you have something in your stash. This is an extra little piece I added in and tied with ribbons in between my fourth page. Just poke some holes, and there you go. That's our chevron book. Notice the leather straps go from the bottom of the back to the front flap, and we rounded those corners. There's a little Cruise Crop Passport stamp there. Definitely stick that on the front. So for our stripe project, you're going to get one of these strips in your kit. And then you're going to get one half or the other of this paper. And then you're going to get one half or the other of this paper. So our example may have some cutout embellishments that are slightly different from what you have, but I know there's something cute on both halves. And here's our stripe project. So we cut out some passport stickers, and we used scraps of our paper to cut out additional little suitcases and tickets and things. Words. Here we used the little squares to make an insert, a 6x2 or 3x2 with 6 squares. Again, some more washi tape to make some flip outs and to decorate the pages. Added in some additional pockets there for photos. And then we added in, here's another flip up. And added in this dot paper on our fourth page. Again, tied with ribbon. We just punched some holes and tied some ribbon. Another little flip up. So there you go. There's our stripe project. Hope you enjoyed making this, and we look forward to seeing you on your next Cruise Crop cruise. Be sure to check out our Etsy shop. We have lots of fun scrapbooking supplies, and we're always adding new cruises, so check our website often.